One of the best things about being a retro gamer is that it's like the gift that keeps on giving. You want to play Double Dragon on the NES but wish they had 2 players co-op? Done. You want to play Legacy of the Wizard but you wanted to not have all those flashing graphics and screens? They have a hack for that. Oh crap, they have a hack for that? Damn. How about a Metroid game where the graphics are slightly improved yet retain the original gameplay? Okay, sure. Mega Man in the Mushroom Kingdom? What the hell? What's going on? What the fuck? How about a game where you play as a Bobo from Double Dragon? Okay, I went a little too far there, but you get the idea. The ROM hacking community has something for almost anyone out there. Unless you like the Master System. I mean, look at the difference between both systems right here in the search options. Wow, that is just so wrong on so many levels. A while back I talked about a great hack for Castlevania 2 that fixed tons of issues versus the original that came out back in '88, and just this past year I pointed out a great Metroid hack that totally revamped the original title and in the process created a completely different game. By the way, if you haven't tried Metroid Rogue Dawn, go play it. It is really good. Anyway, I decided to revisit the ROM scene and found some nice gems I want to share with you all in this video. Let's start off with the original Legend of Zelda. Sometimes we get the itch to revisit some of the classics. I was playing the original Zelda on the Switch through the online service and kept thinking to myself how crazy it was for Nintendo to not have made a revamped HD version of the game that started the whole Zelda franchise. Link's Awakening did get a full HD remake, yet the original did not. Why?
Nintendo.
Oh yeah, didn't make any sense to me when I thought about it, so I went searching online.
12 seconds later.
What do you know? I came upon this project right here. I was blown away. The Legend of Zelda Remastered is possibly one of the best looking hacks out there. It takes the original Legend of Zelda and replaces all the arts and assets on it with newly crafted HD artwork that are almost ripped right out of the Link to the Past game for the most part, not all of it. If the Super NES would have released this game back in the day, I would have bought it immediately. I think it would have sold well. From the gorgeous intro title screen, you quickly realize that this game right here goes way beyond just a hack. The overworld looks vibrant. The underground dungeons look bleak and dreary, and all the enemies got nice makeovers as well, while retaining their attack patterns and overall behaviors. There was also a nice overworld map grid added to the upper screen menu to help out a bit, giving you a slightly better idea of where you are in the overall map. However, it doesn't highlight your progress, only shows you where you are located at the time. It's still helpful though. Overall locations of dungeons and items stay pretty much the same. However, do not expect this to be a walk in the park. The game is still difficult. In fact, I think it's a little bit more difficult than the original one, but that could just be me. The soundtrack is taken almost directly out of the Link to the Past game, with some of the tunes returning here like the overworld theme, while others like the dungeon music was tailor-made for the remastered. The sound effects are also reminiscent of that 16-bit era of the Super NES. It would have been nice to hear a little reverb on the dungeon music and some of the sounds. It is still a great addition to the game overall. One of the only minor gripes I have with the game is that I feel that it is a tad bit more difficult than the original, but then again, that could just be me. Also, and this one right here that I'm about to point out, it's a little bit nitpicking on my part, but in no way spoils the game at all, is that there is no animation of Link entering a cave or dungeon or leaving them. He just pops out. In the original, you can see him taking steps down or coming up. Again, it's just me being extremely picky. You know what? Let me just edit this part out before I post the video. Edit to self, delete this clip of me being an anal retentive douchebag. Also edit out the part where I call myself a douchebag. Also, I need more Chips Ahoy cookies from the market. Getting this hack to work is a little bit tricky though, so I'm gonna leave the links in the comment section for the hack and the emulator needed. It has to be a specific version of Messen the emulator. so use the one I leave a link to. And also, please, and no hard feelings, but do not ask me for a link to any of the ROMs needed to get this hack to work. If I do, Nintendo has assured me that I would never see my cat again. I miss you, Snooty. But if you decide to revisit this classic game and you want a little facelift to maybe spruce up the experience, you cannot go wrong with the remastered version here. It is awesome. Next up, Super Mario Bros. Reimagined. What if we kept the original graphics, some control mechanics, but added tons of parallax scrolling, new enemies, new levels, and some new music to accompany all these changes? We got this gem right here. Every world here is different from one another. Some are ice worlds, other are forests, one of them is even a desert, and the final castles for each of them match the overall theme, which is a nice touch on top of everything else. The poison mushrooms make a return here as well. You know what's funny? I have yet to find a Starman though. That's weird. Even though the controls are the same from the original, Mario does feel a little bit floaty and doesn't stop on a dime as suddenly as he does in the original. It's a small tad change, but you can notice it the more you play it. And why does it say Luigi on the top here if I'm playing as Mario? Unless... or maybe they just messed up and just put Luigi up there by mistake. You can also customize Mario and Luigi through the menu right here, switching colors and hats to wear. Hey, I didn't put that there. It's built in. A nice little feature here is that if you die, you can start the game off again from any of the worlds that you have completed. It would have been a nice touch had they put Bowser in some sort of a suit or to look like part of the theme overall for that world. Like maybe wear an Eskimo suit in the ice world or a King Tut headgear in the desert. That's just an idea that maybe they can add later on to maybe an upgraded version to the hack. By the way, look into the Mario website to check for tons of map hacks that add so much variety to this classic game that you can actually waste tons of hours just looking at all the varieties that they have there. This one right here was a nice surprise and a nice option if you choose to revisit this all-time great. Next up is the Guardian Legend. This hack, or not really a hack but an overall new version of the game, is called The Shadow of Naju. The story to me feels like filler for the most part, but if you like the original NES game, this one here is more of the same, yet different enough to be worth a playthrough. After that long, and I'm talking long intro, you start off in a shmup stage, which is a bit longer than it needs to be. It felt like it went on for way too long. Afterwards, you start off inside the space station / planet. The graphics here are an improvement over the original ones, but it feels like they were using the Eagle filter, which I do not find pleasant to look at. But you could mess around with the graphics a bit. I would much rather it stayed with the original pixelated graphics, but I got used to it after about maybe half an hour of playing it. Aside from the NES graphics for the overworld portions, you get a few enemies here and there as well as new mini-bosses that appear in the overworld. Your character also seems to have a few new frames of animation when walking, but maybe that's just me imagining things, since I haven't really played the original Guardian Legend in a while. The shooting stages feel similar to the original title with new enemies scattered about here and there, and yes, you're gonna notice a few enemies appear from other games as well. I do like that they added all new bosses and didn't reuse any of the old ones, or maybe they have, but I just haven't gotten that far into the game yet. Fortunately, they are not as difficult as the original ones, but they do take a long time to defeat if using the regular weapon. Speaking of weapons, there are no new weapons, but the original game had just so many of them to choose from that I don't think it needs anything new. The world feels larger here, but there's a few things to help out. First is the map. There are two ways to see the map: original grid or the new view. The original one breaks up all rooms into squares, where the new one only shows you a large gray area and fills up as you travel, but does not break up the rooms into sections. The rooms are categorized here, however, letting you know where shops are, where the safe spots are located, as well as gates. The safe spots can also be used as teleportation spots, letting you jump from one side of the map to another. This right here, I think, is one of the best additions to the game and helps speed up the game considerably. The one gripe with this game that I do have is that it was made to run on Flash, meaning that you can't really change the graphics and there's no default game support whatsoever. You can use a gamepad, but only after some tinkering and using programs like Joy2Key. But the menu does offer quite a few options, such as lowering the graphics a bit, as well as difficulty and changing the map view. If you have beaten the original game and are looking for just a little bit more of Guardian Legend, go with Shadow of Naju. Last game here, Zelda 2, the PC enhanced version. If you want to revisit this underrated Zelda entry, the enhanced version is the way to go. It doesn't change up the graphics too much, but adds a few graphical tidbits to the original game. First up is the widescreen presentation versus the original 4x3. The graphics, they're not full 720p, but are now 480 by 720, still giving it a more fresh and sharper look than the original. The quest stays pretty much the same, but adds some quality of life improvements such as maps for the dungeons, showing you where you have traversed, which alone makes this game so much better. You can also talk to certain villagers in each town to save your game. This option lets you save all your existing experience points and lets you start off from that town when you come back to the game. You can also hit the escape key on the keyboard at any time to enter a menu where you can save the game or just quit. Towns also have sort of a transportation option where you enter a house that has an underground portion that have multiple locked doors. If you have some extra keys to spare, you can access certain paths to travel to different towns directly via the underground section. Again, very helpful in speeding up the gameplay overall. The Link dolls that you collect throughout the game stay with you as long as you save the game before a game over. So, for instance, if you have collected 3 of them and you save your game, you will start off again with 3 lives plus the total amount of dolls that you have collected. Now, here's a big one that I found to really make things easier. When you die in a dungeon, you start off at the beginning of that specific dungeon instead of being thrown back all the way to the main castle. Dying also doesn't knock off all your experience. You get to keep 25% of it when you restart the game. That alone is great. However, some of the best options are a bit hidden at the start of the game. You see, you have to modify these settings before you start a file. From the start selection title screen, you can select elimination mode and select a file before you start the game. You can then select rando and enter the option mode right here. Now you can change up tons of things, like starting off the game with all the stats at max or halfway to make the game easier for you. You can also choose what items to start off with, as well as change color palettes for Link. And you can even randomize enemy locations and item locations as well, making it feel like a whole new game. This is a real nice game with some great options that will let you revisit it at your leisure and with options to make it more tailored to whatever mood you are when you come back and play it. You might want to take it easy and just kind of breeze through it, or you might want a real good challenge, and the options offered here help you with that. You know, I am surprised that Nintendo hasn't shut this project down. For those fans of Zelda 2 out there, I highly recommend this one if you're revisiting the game again, or if you have never played it before and you want to see what the big deal is regarding this entry. Now, there are tons of hacks and standalone games of retro classics out there, but these 4 here are some of the ones I recently tried out and I am currently in the middle of playing. And I found them to be quite good and wanted to share them all with you. There are a few more I want to cover, but I'm gonna leave that for a future video. Which ROM hacks or standalone titles have you recently played that went above your expectations and recommend to others? Share with us all. Until next video, keep watching and keep gaming. Well, I'll be a son of a bitch. I guess the ROM hacking community has something for everyone.